This is my story. It relates to stress-related illness, mental health illness, and highlights the lack of support offered by the job and the Federation. I joined the job nearly 16 years ago, and at the time was in a long-term relationship. However, she was not in the police. We married, we had a child together, and we split before his first birthday. For years at work, I kept my private life to myself as much as possible, only asking for days off to go to court, to fight, to see my son. However, it became more difficult to see my son due to the bitterness between my ex-partner, my ex-wife and I. Some of that's my fault. But in the decade since I split with my wife, my ex-wife, I remarried again. My wife now, she's a police officer, and we have children together. However, things in the last 3 or 4 years have taken their toll. Contact with my child ceased for a time, restarted, and is currently ceasing again. And that, coupled with issues in my marriage now, which are happily resolved, that sent me into despair. I went to my GP and they signed me off for stress, and that was 18 months ago. However, I was only off for a month, but felt so pressured at the time to go back to work. And I went back to work sooner than I was ever ready to go. This was because of the constant harassment and borderline bullying from the job to get me back into work. I was threatened with unsatisfactory attendance and was bullied to go back to work. When I went back to work, it was completely swept under the carpet. No one spoke to me about it. No one asked me how I was. No one cared. So I went back to work full-time, frontline policing, and I myself swept things under the carpet because I wasn't getting the support from work. I muddled on back at work for another year or so, but throughout this time, the mental health condition was ignored. Again, no one asked how I was getting on, and it became sort of a running joke that if things got too hard, I'd go off with stress. I was offered no help at all. In the beginning, when I split with my ex-wife, I turned to the Federation to ask for help, for advice in family matters, and got told over the telephone that it wasn't in their remit. How many times have we heard that? I then got told late last year that I was going to be moved off of the response teams and to a safer neighbourhoods, completely changing my shifts. Now, my time when I see my son is completely based around my shifts at work. And I explained this to my superiors at work, and the utter disregard they showed was unbelievable. I even got told it wasn't their problem, they weren't interested, I had to move. Again, I was faced with the fact that I wasn't going to see my child. So this obviously made my stress worse, and I went off again through the GP for another period of stress for another 4 weeks. Again, I was constantly phoned, not to ask how I am, to see if there's anything they can do to help. I was constantly phoned asking, when are you coming back to work? Why are you not at work? How long have you been signed off for? When can you start in your new position? It got to a point where I had to ask for a move off of the borough that I had been working on. And eventually, after speaking to my superintendent, digging my heels in and getting help from the one Fed rep who was of any use, got my move to a different borough where I happily say that I'm back on a response team. However, the problems with my son now are resurfacing. The stress is resurfacing, but I feel after 2 periods of stress and of no help whatsoever, I have to keep that hidden from work. It's a sad state when you are in a job which does cause so much stress, and at times can cause stress, and your own private life, that I would advise anyone not to reveal that stress to work, because you will not be supported. And that's not how it should be. I can't understand the job's utter dismissal of stress. I joined this job more than a decade ago, as I said. I signed up for 30 years on a bloody good pension, or it was at the time. It was a career choice. But now, like most officers that I speak to, as a family, we're bleeding money, paying more, getting less out. But I'm looking now to find something different. I can't see this job now for however many years I have to do. I passed an exam nearly 6 years ago now for promotion. 5 years that exam lasts. I didn't get the promotion in the 5 years. We only had 2 opportunities in those 5 years to be promoted. That's another thing that adds into the stress. Do I do an exam again or not? I don't know anymore. I think for me, I need to find something and walk away from this job. I just want people to know that they have to stand up for themselves. Your mental health is more important than this job. If you let it go, it affects everything at work and your home life. And believe me, if you let it affect your home life, as I nearly found out, you stand to lose everything. And the job's not worth that.